Welcome back to Mini Motley Sanctuary. I'm Anna.
And I'm Ruth.
And together we're a mother-daughter team looking after rescue animals and running our online gift shop. We're saying goodbye to summer and these beautiful milk thistle and preparing for the start of autumn.
All the swallows have left now, sadly. That's always a little bit of a poignant time, isn't it? Especially if we've seen them all nest and fledge this year. They've all begun their long journey to Africa, to warmer climates now. So the skies are very quiet.
We've been watching them learning to fly, haven't we?
Swallows do everything on the wing. They stay airborne for 10 months of the year. They feed and sleep on the wing. It's incredible, isn't it?
Wow. In this week's video, we're going to introduce you to more of our rescue animals here at Mini Motley Sanctuary. But before we get into it, we wanted to show you an artist that we actually bumped into driving to the sanctuary one day, who was painting the beautiful Suffolk scenery that surrounds us and the hay bales at harvest. And we actually pulled the car over into a lay-by to stop and meet Liz De Planta and find out what she was up to.
Look, they don't have round hay bales anymore.
No, it's so...
As soon as I thought, I've been painting in Walthamstow, as soon as I saw them, I was like, stop! I just literally stopped.
That is beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. We had to share with you Liz and her beautiful artwork, but back to the video. Time to meet more of our rescue animals. Meet Jim, who is a supersized sheep. He's a Texel wether, which means that he's neutered. And he is a real big friendly giant who loves a head scratch and a massage and a back scratch too. He does his famous wiggle, and he is a very needy and humanised sheep, isn't he, Mum?
He is, and he's always been an old soul. So if he had a costume, it would be that traditional pipe and slippers. He doesn't like to go anywhere in a hurry. He likes to be given attention and food whenever he calls out for it. But he doesn't want to be in too much of a situation where there's anything really energetic going on. He plods his way around. And in fact, he just always seems so much older than he is. When we've brought in other younger sheep that are actually of a similar age to him, we always think, oh, poor old Jim, they'll get on his nerves, the young ones, forgetting that actually he's one of their contemporaries. It's really odd, isn't it?
Yeah. He's never really been up for playing, has he? He's steady Eddie. He likes to do his little march around the field. He loves his simple pleasures, his tasty hay, his good food, his mineral block, and lots of love, cuddles and affection.
And comfort.
Comfort, yes. He's got his priorities straight. But let's take you back to when Jim first came to Mini Motley Sanctuary, which was actually in the pandemic, in lockdown. So he brought some light to our lives during a really difficult time. But we actually rescued him from the brink. Jim was one of a set of twins, and his mother actually abandoned him, had rejected him, didn't like the look or the smell of him, and preferred his sibling instead. So left him in the cold, in the rain, and without being fed, with an empty stomach. And it was during lambing time, so the farmer was very busy, and so offered him to us and asked if we could bottle feed him and take him in. So he came to live with us in lockdown, in the house, in a nappy, and became very much part of the family. We were doing night feeds and 2-hourly feeds during the day. He came out in the garden to stretch his legs and to get to know some of the other rescue animals, and very much became almost like a dog, really, didn't he?
Once he'd come through the bottle feeding stage, he grew and grew until grew until he was quite a substantial, chunky, older lamb. And at that point, he could have gone back into the farmer's flock, but inevitably that would have meant one thing, because he was a wether, so he wasn't going to be used for breeding.
And he is a meat sheep. He's a meat breed.
And the Texels are bred for meat. By this time, of course, as Anna said, he was part of our family and we loved him very much and we had a real bond with him. So we said to the farmer, can we keep him? And the farmer was happy for us to give him a home, because he said we'd done all the hard work, all the hours of feeding him and the expense of saving him from death's door.
And he joined Mini Motley Sanctuary for a forever life as part of our special flock, and may one day become a therapy sheep if we ever manage to achieve our dream of opening for workshops and creative sessions and who knows what else. But you can find out more about Jim and all of the animals that we're introducing you to via our Patreon. That's nice. There are 3 fairly new characters that you need to meet at Mini Motley Sanctuary that joined us this year, that we rescued from a terrible situation.
That is our 2 Herdwicks and our Herdwick across Suffolk, Arkle, Harvey and Albie, who've really brought some new dimensions to the sanctuary life. And they were in a very poor condition. They were malnourished. They were skeletal with really matted, soiled fleeces. Just unbelievable. We'd never seen sheep in such a terrible state. So we then spent a long time, kept them in quarantine, won over their trust, treated them, gave them extra vitamins and minerals every day, had our shepherd come and shear them so that we could actually see what was going on underneath and get rid of all the lice-infested fleece, and watch them really begin to thrive. And actually they're very bolshy, aren't they? Very friendly, very bolshy, very confident members of the flock.
Thanks to our care, because they arrived feral and we actually doubted whether they'd ever become tame enough to handle.
Herdwick fleece is really special, and one that I particularly like working with to create things for our Etsy shop. Obviously, as we said before, the fleece that they arrived with was just had to be shorn and disposed of because it was just such poor quality and also soiled, etc. But now their fleeces are growing through absolutely beautifully and are looking really lovely. And by the time they come to be shorn next year, I know that we're going to have 3 really lovely fleeces for me to create some great sheep and other little animals for the shop. They're different. Harvey's got a much lighter fleece, which is more synonymous with an older Herdwick. So his is like a silvery light grey. And Albie's got, as Anna's described in our Patreon podcast, a golden fleece, which should be really exciting. And Arkle's got the typical early Herdwick fleece, secondary shearing, nice lovely grey, quite deep grey. So quite excited for me to look at in terms of the things that I know I'll be able to make certainly next year when their fleeces come off for their own comfort. And it's great to see that they're so well nourished now that they're producing really lovely fleeces.
And the fleece really is a gift for us, because it's something that has to be, as Mum says, for their own comfort and welfare and care, has to be removed each year because it gets too long, too thick. It needs to be shorn down so that flies don't nest in and lay their eggs, and to keep the sheep comfortable in the hotter weather. So it's something that has to be removed anyway and shorn off anyway. And it's a real bonus that we can use that fleece. And Mum is skilled enough to make sculptures and decorations and gifts using this incredible material.
Yeah, it's like the sheep has lots and lots of different lives, and it donates its coat when it doesn't need it anymore to be reused. So I really love that. I also love the fact that wool used to be of such great value, especially in this country. A lot of the wealth in this country, ancestral wealth, has grown out of the value of wool, the woolen industry as it was then. And of course now it's almost worthless in monetary terms, and a lot of fleece just gets disposed of. So it's great when there are other uses for it, when it can be made into things that are keepsakes. So they don't go into landfill. There'll be decorations and hopefully little heirlooms or whatever, Christmas decorations that go down through the years. And it's creating something new out of something that needs to be removed anyway. So that's brilliant. I know other people use it in their gardens to stop the slugs getting at plants and things. So wherever you can find a use for wool, it's great, because it's one of nature's gifts, I think. The sheep don't want it when they're going to be too hot. Who would want to be walking around in a woolen coat in the summer? So help them out, and also then put it to some really valuable use.
We've documented the rehabilitation of the 3 rescue Herdwicks, which includes Albie, the Herdwick cross Suffolk, on Patreon. We've created a rehabilitation series with documentary style videos right from the moment they arrived at the sanctuary, and through all of the care and the treatment that we've given them, how we've built their trust, how we've helped them to gain weight and strength, how we've transform them from these weak little skinny skeletal sheep to healthy, vibrant characters at the sanctuary. And if you'd like to support us on Patreon, there are tiers and memberships starting from £1 upwards, and we'd love you to join us. So we'd so appreciate your support. Every membership helps our sanctuary, and we would really struggle without Patreon.
You've got to meet Bertie next. He is our grey-faced Dartmoor, and he found us because he was in need of a safe forever home. He was born into a breeding situation, had been bred to produce show sheep, and he didn't make the grade. So his breeder was looking out and appealing to anyone who could offer Bertie a forever home.
If you are tempted to come and join us on Patreon, we are currently making our very own Bertie blockbuster, we're calling it, to document his first year at Mini Motley Sanctuary, how he's grown and developed, but also talking about his extra challenges and vulnerabilities and care needs that he's faced over the last year.
There have been lots of challenges for poor old Bertie that come with, partly to do with his breed and partly to do with his particular needs. But I have to give a quick shout out for Bertie's fleece, the fleece that just keeps on growing, and it is just curls and swirls galore. And he is, well, we're booking him for another shearing now, a second shearing of the year, because boy oh boy, it's a living carpet, isn't it? But he produces so many of these lovely thick curls, again, that make fantastic fleecing animals. And I do make mini grey-faced Dartmoors. A lot of people really love to have a little mini Bertie of their own, so a big shout out for that incredible fleece that he brought with him.
He is a registered rare breed as well, the grey-faced Dartmoor. And if you would like to find out more about Bertie and his story, and you're tempted, please do come and join us on Patreon and support us that way. We will be so grateful for your membership. Don't forget, if you missed last week's video on YouTube, you can meet more of our animals at Mini Motley Sanctuary and hear some of their rescue stories and behind the scenes. So go back and take a peek. But for now, we will see you next week. If you've enjoyed this video, please share it far and wide to help us find more like-minded animal lovers. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for plenty more weekly videos. We'll see you next week.
See you then. Bye.